The night shift at the harbor. They say the night hides its own kind of secrets, things better left unseen. I didn't believe that, not until I took the night shift at the harbor. It started like any other shift, but it became a night I'll never forget. It was late November, and the cold had settled in thick over the harbor, the kind of cold that seeps through your jacket and into your bones. I arrived at the small harbor office at 11:45 p.m., as usual. The heater was broken again, so I poured myself a cup of cheap, lukewarm coffee from the stain machine in the corner. The room smelled of mildew, old paperwork, and burnt coffee grounds. The routine was simple. Patrol the docks, keep an eye on the ships, and make sure no one was trespassing. Easy money, or so I thought. I grabbed my flashlight and stepped outside, pulling my coat tighter around me. The harbor stretched out in front of me like a labyrinth of steel and shadow. The cranes loomed overhead, their rusted frames disappearing into the heavy fog that had rolled in during the evening. It was so thick you could almost feel it pressing against your skin. The first part of my patrol was always the same. I walked along the main pier, shining my flashlight at the ships moored along the docks. Their hulking silhouettes swayed gently in the water, and every now and then, the metal hull of a ship would groan, like some great beast shifting in its sleep. The only other sounds were the faint lapping of water and the occasional distant cry of a gull. Eerie, almost like a warning. But that night something felt off. The harbor was too quiet. It wasn't just the usual silence of an empty workplace. It was a heavy, unnatural stillness. Even the wind seemed to have died, leaving only the fog, which wrapped around me like a shroud. My boots struck the damp wood of the pier, each step echoing back at me like whispers in the dark. I paused for a moment, turning off my flashlight to listen. The fog absorbed every sound, and for a brief moment, it felt like I was the only person left in the world. Then I heard it, a faint clang, like metal striking metal. I snapped the flashlight back on and swung the beam toward the noise. It had come from Dock 7, the farthest dock from the office, where the old cargo ship Orion Bell was tied up. That ship had been there for weeks, waiting for repairs that no one seemed in a hurry to start. It was supposed to be empty. With a deep breath, I started toward the noise. The fog seemed to grow thicker with every step, wrapping around me until the world beyond my flashlight's beam completely vanished. My breath puffed out in little clouds and my fingers ached from the cold. The ship loomed ahead, its rusted hull towering above me like a forgotten relic of another time. As I approached, the gangway creaked under the weight of the wind, or so I thought. I stopped and listened again, my flashlight trembling slightly in my hand. That's when I saw them. Wet footprints. They trailed up the gangway and onto the deck. The prints were fresh, still glistening in the pale light of my flashlight. I hesitated. Someone or something was up there. I climbed the gangway slowly, each step a metallic groan beneath my weight. The ship felt alive, its frame shifting and creaking as if it was aware of my presence. The air grew colder as I stepped onto the deck, and the smell of salt and rust was almost overwhelming. I followed the footprints toward the cargo hold. The metal hatch was slightly ajar, swinging gently on its hinges as if inviting me in. My flashlight beam cut through the darkness, illuminating stacks of crates and coils of thick rope. Then I heard it, a voice. It was faint, almost a whisper, but unmistakable. It sounded like someone speaking, or maybe muttering. The words were impossible to make out, but the tone sent a shiver down my spine. "Hello," I called out, my voice trembling. No answer. I stepped deeper into the hold, my flashlight sweeping across the stacks of crates. The voice had stopped, but the air felt heavier, like the walls were closing in. That's when I noticed the smell, damp and earthy, mixed with something metallic. And then I saw it. At the far end of the hold, standing perfectly still, was a figure. The figure didn't move. It just stood there staring at me. Its face was pale and sunken, almost skeletal, and its eyes glowed faintly in the dark. My legs felt like lead, but I managed to take a step back. "Who are you?" I whispered. No response. Suddenly, the figure moved, not toward me but sideways, disappearing behind a stack of crates. I should have run, but something pulled me forward, a mix of fear and curiosity I couldn't resist. I rounded the crates, shining my flashlight into the corner where the figure had gone. But it was empty. I turned to leave, my heart racing, when I noticed something on the floor. A rusted nameplate. I picked it up and wiped away the grime. The letters read, Orion Bell, decommissioned 2013. My blood ran cold. When I got back to the office, I checked the logs. The Orion Bell wasn't scheduled for repairs or anything else. It had been abandoned years ago after its crew vanished during a storm at sea. No one had been aboard since. Some ships carry more than cargo. They carry their pasts, and sometimes the past doesn't want to be forgotten. What would you do if you were the one who stumbled into its shadow? Stay tuned for more stories and don't forget to subscribe. The night has more secrets waiting for you.